chance to win some epic
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Smokin' Studios for another live episode of the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show. I am super excited about tonight. We have literally a living legend coming on the show tonight. Now, this guy's been on the show several times, and for whatever reason, he seems to have fun. So we're just gonna tell him he's having a great time, and we're gonna let him keep coming back as often as he wants. Now I know you guys have seen the promo for it. It's Dave Garofalo, of course, living legend, kind of Walter Cronkite, kind of a mix of like the cigar version of the originator Joe Rogan of the podcast show for cigars. The guy's been, I think, was probably the first major cigar show to even be on podcast wise. Am I right, Dave? Am I right? Yeah. Yeah, so longest running is what he's saying in the background. We'll go ahead and give it to him on the first. But anyways, without any other further ado, because I don't really have any show things to get a hold of tonight or to kind of run through tonight. We've got some great guests lined up for the rest of the year. But this guy went through hell and high water to get here tonight. I had to convince him to drive around in his area pre 4th of July. So I'm so glad you were able to make it here, Dave. I really appreciate it. Thank you, brother.
Ryan, thank you. You know, you asked me a long time ago, and I said, sure, I'm looking forward to it. And then all of a sudden it came, and I go, July 3rd. What was I thinking? Why would I say yes to that? It's the 3rd of July. I don't know if there's anybody out there watching, but there must be some fireworks to look at or something going on. But if you're here, thank you for joining along with us. It is July 3rd, and I had to take my family down Cape Cod, Massachusetts today. And that is an area where a lot of people go in the summertime. And it was, I could say we could probably make it in about an hour and a half, but it took 3.5 hours to get there. That's what concerned me. I was worried when that happened, and that was at noon today. And then I said, oh my God, if it's going to take that long to get back, I may be late. So I tapped my buddy, Ed Sullivan, who is the producer of the Cigar Authority. And I said, Ed, what happens if I get stuck? I got earbuds that I brought with me and my cell phone, and I could do it, but you know, maybe it's going to cut out or anything. And he said, I got you in case it doesn't work out, but I hope it works out. And wouldn't you know it, coming back an hour and a half, 3.5 hours there, an hour and a half back. So I'm here anyway. Long story. Happy to be here.
Well, Dave, you are the consummate professional here. And I really appreciate you even taking the steps. Most people would have been like, can't do anything about it, I'm gonna be late. But here, you know, Dave, you're a rarity, my friend. You
I hate to be late. I hate people being late on me, and I certainly people that know me that know how much I hate late. I got to do everything I can to possibly get there. So it was going to happen no matter what. But here I am actually in the office because I could have drove home, but it might have took an extra 15 minutes. So I said, no, let me just pass in the office first. I happen to have a key to the place. So I'm the only one at Two Guys Smoke Shop right now, which doesn't happen very often. There's nobody in here. I can yell. I can do what I want. Actually, and the camera only goes up to here. I don't have pants on. I can have no pants on.
Hold on, where's my breaking news button? I do have a breaking news button, but I haven't reset it for this. But that Dave, we became closer. I feel like we need to have Matt Booth in on this conversation.
There we go. Yeah.
So, All right. Well, I tell you what, let's go ahead and start off with the only segment we have in this show, and that's by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, our friend, Steve Saka. And so let's have you go ahead and tell us, what are you smoking tonight, Dave?
Well, you're telling me this could last 2 hours long, and I'm in the store. I can get whatever I want. Everything's here, but it is 4th of July. It will be in 4 hours. Again, here, it is 8 o'clock here Eastern time. So I thought I'd go with what I've been doing all weekend or all week. This is the firecracker. I'm smoking the Connecticut right now. And as the night goes on, I'll go into the sun-grown and the Maduro version of it. And if I have to go into my archives and go into some special editions, I can do that too, because I save them like some people do. I save some of the limited releases that come out too. But it's firecracker all day today, all day tomorrow, and then back to our regularly scheduled program after I get to the 4th of July.
I love it. I love it. Tonight, I am smoking the Cigar Clowns King of Clowns, which is an undisclosed everything, but it's a San Andreas wrapper, and it's from Dominican Republic. So it's a really, really good cigar. It actually complements really well a rye bourbon, which is different because it's a fuller flavor cigar, not a super strong body, not a super pepperiness to it. So the pepperiness of the rye goes nice with the smoothness of the cigar. It's not like you're getting that double pepper shot. So are you chasing it down with anything tonight, brother?
I just have seltzer water that I'm doing here because, again, I was doing some serious driving. And this is actually, be careful out there, everybody. This is when the police are everywhere. As you're drinking and driving and stuff. So I still got to wrap up here and then get home after. So I'll save the alcohol beverages until I get home, and but that's okay. I usually don't drink when I'm in the office anyway, even though, again, nobody's here. I could do whatever I want. But,
dude, okay. Thank you so much, Steve Saka, for sponsoring the What Are You Smoking Tonight segment. So I'm going to get back to touch it. It's your freaking shop. You could do whatever you want all the time.
That's the great thing of it. As I think about it, people have said, "Why don't you sell out someday?" I've been doing this for 40 years, and I said, "What I'll do is I'll end up in the store. If I sell it out, I'll end up being the guy hanging out in the lounge every day. So it's better to be the king, right? At least I got keys to the place. I can come and go as I please. So we'll just keep it like that."
Yeah, it works out well. Plus, you were able to celebrate a rarity in business. Yes, everybody knows of the 100-year-old companies, the this, the that, but the first 20 years of a business is really, really hard. It's establishment, it's building clientele, it's building growth. You doubled that this year. You did a 40-year anniversary. Kudos to you, sir.
Thank you.
Two Guys. Appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
With that said, we've got a bone to pick with you. And Steve says it's to pick with you and the other retailers for us fiddleheads. When do we get it to go national? Steve said if you guys don't allow it to happen, it won't. So we're all going to be blaming you guys if it doesn't. Just let you know.
Well,
Steve has passed the blame.
Yeah, it was funny when he started that whole social media thing. It was the night before our CANH, which is Cigar Association of New Hampshire meeting, which he's part of. Yeah. He's a member of it. And he shows up at a lot of the meetings that we end up having. And I see this social media thing that he's on here. If they don't take it, this is blah, 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 and then this is what's going to happen to it, and everybody chiming in. And I'm like, oh, my God. And literally 12 hours later, he's meeting with us. And here there's 15 cigar retailers that are in my shop. This is where they have the meetings after hours. And everybody looks at each other and says, I guess we have to do this, right? I said, we don't have to do it, but it went so well. Don't we want to do it? And they all do. And they said, all right, and he came in and we gave him some help over it. But listen, he's actually the one that came up with the idea. We do fundraisers, we do golf tournaments, we've done all kinds of different things over the years. What do we need funds for? We have a couple of things. We have a political action committee that we raise money for so that we can actually donate, which is what the lobbyist likes me to say, the word donate to their campaigns. I grew up from the inner city. We called it something different, but it's another thing. But we donate to political campaigns. We also have a lobbyist, and the lobbyist is a lot of money, $35,000 a year, I believe, we paid a lobbyist to watch out for our best interests within the state. And, I think we are the pinnacle of a cigar state organization.
Oh my gosh, your governor took a photo holding a box of cigars, standing next to Steve while Steve had a cigar in his hand or his mouth. Like, I would say,
and she's new.
Yeah.
She is new.
I would say, yeah, that's a very much a cigar loving state, foundationally at least.
Yeah, I'll tell you, and it hasn't been easy, and there's ups and downs and things that happen. But people talk about Pennsylvania is a tax-free state. That's where most of the online giants operate out of, Pennsylvania. And then you have Florida, which is where most of the manufacturers operate out of the state of Florida. And then you have two tax states that are at zero tobacco tax. But there's only one state, and not only the United States, but in the world, there's only one that has no tax at all on cigars, and that's New Hampshire. There's no sales tax and there's no tobacco tax. And it's not by accident. It's a lot of hard work. It's nonstop, staying on top of it, and it's retailers getting together with each other. And I originally started in Massachusetts, and I moved after 10 years to New Hampshire because they were going to tax 12% tax. I ran away from 3 stores in Massachusetts for a 12% tax, but it was a floor tax, and I know it was going to get aggressive after that and become higher. Today it's 40%.
It never stops. It never stops.
Once their foot is in the door, right? So while I was in Massachusetts, I tried being friends with the retailers there and said, listen, I'm not your enemy. I'm your best friend. I know we're in the same exact business, but we can talk business together and all that. And we compete with consumers, but we should really get together and watch out for taxation or anything that's going to go negative, no smoking laws, all kinds of different stuff. And they basically threw me out of their stores, and they wanted nothing to do with me because I was their competitor. And when I lost a single-handed battle in 1995 to fight the tobacco tax, I closed my stores, and they were very happy about it. And I came to New Hampshire, 30 miles north. They laughed at me. They called me names. They said, you think your customer's going to drive all the way to New Hampshire to come see you? And I said, not only will my customer drive 30 miles north to come see me, your customer will too.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. I hate to say it, but you have to fight. And hey, we don't win them all. We have no smoking in restaurants and things like that in this state. We fought and lost. But you fight. And
you have to fight. You have to fight.
And fighting by yourself is a losing battle. People will say 100%. You can't fight City Hall.
100%.
You can't fight it alone. But if you can get a dozen retailers together and walk in, it's a whole different game.
Big time.
So New Hampshire's been wonderful like that. We're all friends with each other, and we get together and we do fundraisers and we have a lobbyist, like I said, and we know what's going on and we grab those opportunities we can. Here was a new governor coming in, and okay, the lobbyist makes the connection and says, let's see what we can do. And there you go. So I urge other states to really, it doesn't matter what your tax is. You already have tax in your state. Oh, what is there to do? There's tax caps. There's rollbacks. There's people that
tax caps are the really big one that needs to happen.
Sure.
Because tax caps make cigars out of a normal price range in certain states.
Rhode Island, for instance, which is just the other side of Massachusetts, Rhode Island had a 40% cigar tax. And years ago, I'm going to go back at least probably 12 years ago, they said, let's try a tax cap. We're going to try it for 3 years. If it doesn't work, we're going to bring it right back and take the tax cap out. And they did it for the 3 years. They proved that they made more money with a 50-cent tax cap than they did making people actually leave the state or buy online tax-free also. And they ended up, I think per square mile, Rhode Island has more cigar stores per square mile than anywhere else in the United States. It's a small state. It's a small state. That's a lot of stores there. A lot of stores paying 50 cents on every cigar that's sold. So the state's doing great. They're doing great. And that's one way to get to it. Another way is to actually even drop that, and that's happened in states that they lowered the tax. I think it was Montana went from 50 cents to 35 to 15 tax cap. They just keep lowering it. Then you get states like California just went up. New York, Maine is looking. They're at 40%. They're looking to go to 75% to try to match New York. Mm-hmm. And all that does is create a lose-lose situation. The state makes no money. The stores go out of business. It's a terrible, terrible thing. But education is part of the problem because people change duties within that state. New people come in office, and the person that you might have taught the right thing to is out of office, and there's a new person in. And it's an endless battle. You have to never stop. So we're all happy that we have no tax in the state. We have meetings every single month. We get together. We have a full-time lobbyist. That's why we have no tax, because we stay on top of it. They have to do it too. I urge any retailer that if they're saying that they don't know how to form it or whatever, I served on the board of directors of PCA. At that time, IPCPR or RTDA. Now it's PCA. They'll help put it together with you. They'll help you do it. They know what to do, and they have all kinds of different meetings and stuff that happen at the trade show to help organize that. And other retailers, you have to understand your competitor that's down the street from you is not your enemy. He's your friend. We have enemies, the American Heart Association, the American Lung Association, all these different things of the U.S. government trying to put you out of business. The other retailer is just like you. They're trying to make a living and just be in business. So get friendly with them. Restaurant owners are friendly with the restaurant across the street. Why is that different in the cigar industry? It shouldn't be. I know a lot of manufacturers are friends with other manufacturers in the cigar business, and they have their own brands. Why does the retailer feel like the other retailer is their competitor? What I say to them is, if you want to know who your closest competitor is, the real answer to that answer is one click away. That's where your competitor is. They're one click away, the deep discount mail order giants that are out there. That's your competitor, not the other brick and mortar store struggling to make a living and staying open late hours and doing everything we got to do to survive.
Well, it's perfectly said, and I do think that this saying does go to similar, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Right.
Because that whole statement is really the person who I thought was the person who I don't like and the person you don't like. Okay, so we're actually friends because we don't like this same person. So
for the same reason.
It's a circular statement, but the reality of it is the statement itself just allows you to understand that oftentimes who you think is your enemy is probably more or less your friend. And the people you're mutually going against, like you had said, those are the people you really need to be pulling out, gritting your teeth at and shaking your arms and fist at. Not the local guy next door, because you're right. The big discount shops and stuff like that, like those are mutually the enemy of the brick and mortar. But now explain to me this. What you're calling discount shops are literally no storefronts.
Yeah, I'm talking about
Like
which is
only
the audit
online. I
situation.
can't go into a humidor in their facility and grab a cigar. That's what
Most,
you're talking about.
yeah, and most of them, and this is unfortunate. What ended up happening is our suppliers went direct to consumer, and the pushback was nothing. The people we buy cigars from ended up buying the biggest online deep discount companies, and now they became my competitor. So I buy cigars from them, and they deep discount their own product, and I can't compete. And if I get somebody on that product, and this is the worst part about it, the person ends up coming into my store, trying the cigar, a single cigar, to sit in my lounge and smoke that cigar. And while they're in the store, they're looking online and they buy it directly from that manufacturer at their discount mail order company. And I have sampled that cigar to the customer to lose the customer. My company was built on lifetime value of the customer. Lifetime value. So I get somebody that comes in. It takes a lot of work to get them to come in the first time. What is the first time somebody come in? All your advertising, all your promotion, all your great word of
Thousands
mouth.
of dollars per acquisition.
Oh my God. And
Thousands.
finally somebody comes in and they say, oh, this is a nice store. I'm going to grab a cigar. And they grab a cigar, or maybe I even suggest that cigar to them based on the answers they give me to what they like. And then they sit in the lounge and then they buy that cigar online. Turns out direct from the end user, from the manufacturer themselves, who's selling it for less money than I'm selling it for. Why are they selling it for less money? Because they had a suggested retail price. And they suggested that I sell it for that amount of money. So I did. That's what they suggested I do. Maybe I'll give a box discount, but that's the suggested retail price. And I hold to that because some of them actually get mad if you ended up lowering that price, this MAP pricing, minimum advertised price on top of it. So I end up doing that, what they say to do. And the next thing you know, they're selling that cigar at far less, sometimes less than I even pay for it, because now it's called acquisition, customer acquisition. So they believe that they can sell it for less than they sell it to me for, but they'll acquire a new customer. And then they'll have the lifetime value of that customer, not me. That guy may come in the store. You may be listening to a consumer like that, listening on the show now, and you'll buy a cigar at your brick and mortar retailer, and then while you're there or when you get home, hopefully when you get home and not use Wi-Fi to make the connection, but that happens, and buy the box of what you just smoked because you liked it from him because it was a better price. At the same time, I'm telling you, support your brick and mortar retailer, almost with a caveat of if they're good, if it's a clean, good, reputable place. Because if the place is shit, let them die a dignified death and go out of business. I'm not saying support a terrible brick and mortar, but if you say, geez, I love that store, next thing you know, oh, that store, they were great people. I love that store. It's a shame they're going out of business. Well, you should have supported them not for that to happen. If you feel that way, that you like that particular store. If it's a terrible, dirty store and terrible selection, they're out of product all the time, and just a bad retailer, I get it. I'm not saying to you, damn it, you have to support them whether they are terrible or not. But let's take the decent, hardworking cigar store, the majority that's out there, and let's help them.
So you bring up this has been a topic, honestly, across a few of the shows the last couple weeks, I think. Abe talked about it with Fred Rui on KMA. You had Dojo talk about it the night before Fred was on. They brought it up last week or 2 weekends ago on KMA as well. And, it's an interesting thing. You and Abe almost identically say the same thing. And that is support the shop that's worth supporting. Don't come in like Abe brought up the fact that if somebody had was in his shop for like a year every day or a couple times a week and never bought anything. He would have to have a delicate, kind, friendly conversation like, "Hey, dude, are you going to support the shop?" Obviously being very, very delicate in the matter. And I'm sure you would probably do the same if you saw the same guy over and over, never buying anything.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame when you see it.
And
And then somebody
but
has to
he
say something and hopefully pull the guy away from the crowd because he's hanging out with
Oh,
the guy.
100%, 100%. But
Yeah,
he was going on to say, that he doesn't believe that a local shop deserves support just because its existence is there. He said that and I agree with this, and you put on an experience in your shop. You have incredibly loyal clients and customers of yours. So you know exactly what this is. You provide a value of I'm liked. I'm cared for at this shop. They like me. Like it might not be the best restaurant you go to, but damn it, when you show up at the door, they open the door. They've got your table ready. The food's good. The experience totally changes when you have a brick and mortar that shows the love that you as a consumer would like to get for their money. And
yeah.
obviously in 40 years of existence, you've done that. You've done that very well. I'm very curious to what was the retail consumer industry like in the beginning, and then, well, let me take that back. What would today Dave go back to the future and tell past Dave if you could give him any advice as far as running the shop, expectations, and stuff like that?
Well, I was very lucky in the business I was in before this, which was kind of the entertainment business. I turned barrooms into discotheques back in the late '70s, and it was about experiences. Going into this dirty barroom and turning into a discotheque with mirrored balls and strobe lights and neon, and all of a sudden the club came alive, and the person would have a great time going there, and there'd be different contests and events and different things on off nights and things like that. When I got into the business, 1985, um, there was no cigar aficionado, there was no tasting notes, there wasn't any of that, and the consumer came in and bought the same product all the time. And um, when I would get a new product in and I would try it, I got very, very excited about this industry. I love cigars. I was a 25-year-old guy. I'm really getting into it in a big way. And I would have excitement, and I still do to this day, that somebody comes in and the new such and such comes in. I just smoked it. I thought it was good. And I'd be, ooh, ooh, hey, you got to try this. Wait till you have this. And you can talk to the manufacturers out there. I have launched more brands probably than anybody. I was, even in the music business, I would make an artist, make a song popular in the nightclubs. Back in those days, the song would get popular in the nightclub and then get onto the radio. The radio program directors would call me once a week and say, "What's working in the clubs?" And I would tell them, and then they'd listen to those particular songs, decide if they were right to go onto the radio station, and it would make it big into the club. By the time I made it on the radio station, the clubs already got on to the next songs, right? Or, something deeper in their album maybe, or whatever. Well, when I did it into the cigar business, I did the same. Cigar dinners started in Boston. I was the second cigar dinner ever to take place. Cigar dinners. It was the Ritz-Carlton in Boston did the first one. I tried to go. They wouldn't allow me in. So I got mad and I did the second one a few weeks later. And I never stopped. And they did. So I probably get the longest cigar dinner things going on. Bringing a manufacturer in to talk about the cigars in the store was me also. That I would started off as reps and advertise and promote them. That cigar expert would be coming in the store to teach us about the cigars, and the representatives of the company were scratching their head and they go, "Who wants to come see me?" And I said, "They want to come see you. I'm gonna turn that into something." And the next thing you know, the manufacturers are going, they're probably blaming me right now because they were farmers and they loved being where they were. But then the next thing you know, you got guys hitting the road and turning into a road show. And that ended up happening. The long answer to this is experiences. All retail, it doesn't have to be just the cigar business. I don't care what brick and mortar retail you're in. You better create an experience for them, because the god-awful truth of this is we don't have the best price. It's somewhere out there, no matter what it is. We don't have the best selection because online, everything is there. So these are things we used to advertise. Best selection, best prices. Not true anymore. I don't care who you are. You could be even one of those discount guys. You don't have the best price either. Somebody else is cheaper on something. You can't be the cheapest on every single thing because you'd be out of business. Because there's a thing called loss leaders where you're actually losing money selling that product to bring in another customer, right? Mm-hmm. So what do we have that they don't as a brick and mortar retailer? And I say that, I have an online business also, but really to heart, if you want to know who I am, is I'm a brick and mortar guy through and through. I like to buy brick and mortar. I am brick and mortar. I go to work in a brick and mortar store. I've never actually taken a call for our online business, and it's been going on for 30 years.
Let's also be honest. If you're a brick and mortar, you need to have an online presence today. Like you need to have an online presence today. You need to be able to. Like, it's long gone are the days of, oh, I can survive without it. No. Like, unless you want to stay small and local only and not be able to do one-offs like some shops do, not be able to do shop exclusives, you have to have an online presence.
And I, as a young man, again, I got into the business at 25 years old, and it was an old man's business when I got in. And what I tried to do is be relevant right off the bat and be different than them, doing things like this. Barcoding cigars. I was the first. I actually created barcodes and would put them on the products as they would come in. So everything we had was barcoded way before anybody had a barcode on their cigar. Everything at Two Guys Smoke Shop had a barcode on it. What else?
How long was that after you opened that you did something like that?
Maybe 5 or 6 years into it, early 90s, we started barcoding. We were the second company ever to go online. It happened to be, I had a manager of one of my stores at the time, and he was really a computer geek in these early days of computers. And he said, okay, I can make it so that we can have an online presence and people can buy cigars online. And I'm like, who the hell would put their credit card in the computer and people would see this? He goes, this thing is going to be a big thing. I took a gamble. It was actually Holtz in Philadelphia was the first one, to my knowledge, because when I got it up there, I'm looking for anybody. They were the only ones I could find, and they were brand new at it. And we were on there. So early days, we were there even online. I'm 65 years old now. Despite being 65 years old, I'm trying to continue to think young. What new things are coming out? The first NFT cigar ever to come out was Atabey Black. That was us. That came out with, what the hell is an NFT? And believe me, it was 3 days of yelling and screaming of, this doesn't make any sense. And then it was, okay, let's do it. And then all of a sudden LFD comes out and does $1 million and all that stuff. But there's, I'm looking at AI now. It's going to be huge, right? AI is going to be a monster. Who knows we'll go with that. We have to look at that, see what ends up happening there. And whatever the next thing's going to be, and I got so many things in my mind and so many things on my plate of these long-term things. The problem is time. That is my most valuable asset is time. How much time is left and how many things can I possibly do in a day becomes the problem. But I hope you hear it in my voice. And here I am on the 3rd of July with you. I'm excited about this industry. I'm still the kid that when you went in the store saying, oh, wait till you try this. It still juices me up to this day. I work just about every single day. I don't do vacations. I love this business. And I got to do something that I really love to do. And I'm blessed for that because I've been doing it for 40 years. I've been doing a lot of reflecting this year, as I'm gearing up for our big event we have celebrating our 40th anniversary. And we're going to tell very soon the different manufacturers that you mentioned that have these one-off projects. We have a few one-off projects coming for our 40th anniversary from people who don't do this type of thing that I asked, and they said, you know something, absolutely.
Can we tease? Can we tease?
They'll kill me. They'll kill me. The guys will kill me, but it's coming. It's coming real soon. I have one guy saying to me, let's do it Saturday on the show in the second hour. Let's actually light it up, because I've received the products. The thing is, when are we going to put these things out? And so check Saturday in the Cigar Authority in the second hour. And I think we'll light it up and talk about one of the 3 or 4 that are coming out this year. And also things like Fiddlehead that you mentioned earlier that is for the CANH, but to help the people in our organization who may not do such a thing, explain to them, okay, here's how it works, here's how to handle it. This is what you do, because they don't do that.
Now,
everybody ended up doing well because of it.
Since you brought Fiddlehead back up, we rabbit trailed off. Would you guys ever allow? Because Steve always says it would have to be voted on by you guys to allow it. But would you guys allow a national release with like portions of that going to you guys?
Wow, that's interesting.
That would be a huge way for the nation to support you guys.
Wow, I like it. I'd be up for that. That sounds good to me.
I mean, I assume portions of every sale go to it now.
Yes.
So just keep that up and go nationwide with it. It would be gone. But we asked Steve in a thread this last year, and he posted names and said these people have to agree to it before it happens.
Wow, it wasn't brought up at all. That was not brought up at all. This is the first time I'm hearing it. I like it. Again, I'm only one vote on this group. I don't win all these votes by any means, but I like it.
Listen, I think you guys should do an exclusive release just for you guys. And then like a week or two later, a nationwide release. That way you guys get the first crack at everybody of sellout, and then it goes nationwide and it sells out instantly.
I like it. Steve, I like it. I'm sold on it. I think it's good. Listen, with Steve's stuff, we did an event up here. We've been doing it for years. It's a meatball making contest. We call it the meatball every year, and we get 5 people to bring the meatballs in, and we have spaghetti and meatballs, and put a little colored flag on each meatball. You don't know who made it. Somebody wins. So the first year I did it was me, Mr. Jonathan, Ed Sullivan, with the guys from the Cigar Authority, and I get a phone call from Steve and said, I want in on this. And I said, okay, and he went in on it, and he won. And I said, okay, we'll do it next year, and we'll have other people go up against you, and you do it again. So he comes in again and he wins again. But this time he brought cigars for everybody. And the cigar was basically the meatball cigar. And help me out, what is it called? It's his, because he later went national with it.
The Popetta?
Popetta. And so he said, you know what, I want to go national with this cigar, but it was made really for the meatball competition. What do you think? And I said, absolutely. Later on, he makes a firecracker. We're talking about firecrackers today. We do Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, Sober Mesa. Was it Sober Mesa? I think. A firecracker with him, whatever brand it was. Micarita, maybe? Yeah, it was Micarita.
Yes, yeah.
So he does the Micarita. Want to do it again? Yes, do it again. We did a third one with him. I think he's the only one I ever did it 3 times with. But again, the stuff was selling great. And I said, okay. Then I'm the one that said, okay, stop, because it has to be different people all the time. So he said, hey, can I come out with this called Tricky Tracker? The same cigar. I won't put the tail on it because that serves no purpose, but Tricky Tracker, which is firecracker in Nicaragua. And I said, sure. And he goes, you want something? I said, I don't want anything. I want to say thank you. Thank you for doing what you did. And Tricky Tracker is born from that. So
Sounds like to me you need to get like testing credit for these launches that he's doing.
Listen, if you know Steve, you know when I test his cigars, when he delivers them, it's not like he sends samples in advance. Hey, what do you think about it? He doesn't give a shit what I think about it. I've known Steve. Steve was a customer of mine way back for years and years, even from the Boston store. He was a customer in Boston. We moved to New Hampshire. We just moved closer to him. And before he was in the business, he was a regular at Two Guys. And it was so nice of him to come up with that idea for Cigar Association New Hampshire. And he's, as I say, he's a member of the organization also. It shows up to events and promotions and meeting with the lobbyists and the senators and governor, like you mentioned, right? So it's really important, and it's great that he jumped forward on that too. But yeah, these special releases and limited releases are another big thing.
When did these start to really happen? Like, obviously, I don't think in the 90s you had limited editions. Like when in the cigar world, when in the 2000s, and if you remember the first really big, that's what a limited release is.
Well, the first one I can remember was Me Again, and it was Camacho. So I did Camacho 1 year. It was a shop exclusive. It was for Two Guys Smoke Shop, Camacho, and it was a Corojo blend. And Christian Aroa, who was Camacho at the time, him and his dad, and a man called Sal Fontana. And they sent cigars up, and they would ask me to price them a certain way, and then I'd keep them on the shelf for about 2-3 weeks, and they'd say, okay, box them up, send them back, whatever you have left, we're sending another set to you. Different blend, different look, different this. This went on for a year. They went from round to box press, back to round. They went from 25 count boxes to 18 to 20 to, they went from different shape boxes. The blends completely changed. All kinds of different things happened. We went through this whole test for 1 full year. And after that, he goes, okay, we're doing really good with that cigar. I want to go national with it. And I said, okay. So he said, all right, box up what you got, send it back. We're going to send you the real edition of what this is, and we're going to launch it. So it came in. It didn't resemble any of the ones I had before. And I wish, he told me to box them all up. So when somebody says box them all up, you box them all up. I didn't even save one cigar of each blend. I wish I did.
Too honest. You know, people would have been like, I'm keeping a 5-pack each.
Who would have known? Who would have known what was going to happen? Because, listen, let's talk about Steve Saka and Liga Privada. Liga Privada, there was like 15 versions of Liga Privada. It was Liga Privada number 9 that won. Let me tell you, number 12 was way better than number 9 because I had them all. I smoked all of the different Liga Privadas before the Liga Privada came out. Not as a test in the store, but personally. And I'm like, no, it's got to be number 12. And he goes, it's number 9. Like I tell you, with Steve, forget about it. It's whatever he thinks is the answer. And you know what? He's doing pretty damn good. So how do you go up against that? And here it is, Liga Privada number 9. Boom, that takes off. And, you know, it made a lot of people's careers, to be honest with you, of that particular cigar.
Yeah, I mean, it launched Drew Estate into not just a flavored cigar company.
It made Nick Murillo a top blender.
It made Nick, and it made Steve.
Right. It made Steve, and it made Drew Estate. And Drew Estate was able to be sold to Swisher after that because they had a hit with a non-flavored cigar, right? So they were more than just that. So that was an amazing cigar to go through that process and be able to try these different thoughts of these blends. And as I tell you, I'm a geek. I mean, some people that's work. Is it work? Yeah, it's a lot of work to end up smoking 15 different things to see which one you end up liking. And but at the same time, I loved it. Hey, thanks for letting me in on it. Even though my vote didn't count, it was nice to be part of it. And you know, there were, I can even go back into the 80s. There were certain sizes of certain things that were only for stores. So take Nat Sherman, for instance. Nat Sherman had Macanudos Partagas, that they had different names of different sizes that nobody else had except for Nat Sherman. They had ones that were in glass tubes that didn't exist anywhere.
Oop, oop, hold on. He froze. He's coming right back in. Wait, give us a second. He lost internet connection. He's at the shop, so just bear with us. But that's really interesting. Like, I didn't know how many renditions of Liga there was. So hold on, here he is. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, just see, I thought I lost you.
No, you were right at Nat Sherman had glass tubes that only shops had.
Yes. So Nat Sherman had a lot of stuff, and then there was a Tinderbox. Tinderbox in the 80s also had things on Hoya de Monterey and Punch that nobody else had. And then you had the Dunhill shops in the 80s that had Cohiba and Monte Cristo. They didn't exist in the United States. They only were at Dunhill shops, only.
Really?
And unbanded. They were unbanded cigars, but the boxes said Cohiba and Monte Cristo. And later on, the Cohiba came out with a red dot on it, not looking like the Cuban version. And the Monte Cristo came out looking just like the Cuban version when that came out. I remember wanting them really bad and asking the manufacturer, come on, let me get them. I buy a lot of other cigars from you. Let me have that. And they said, no, it's an exclusive to Dunhill. And you just couldn't get it. So these things happen even in the terrible days of the 80s. And I say that because that was a really lousy time to be in the cigar business. The business was dropping from the late 70s to the late 80s at a rate of about 3% per year. Every single year just kept dropping down and down. I was new in 1985, so I was going up. I was going up from zero, right? So
why do you think it was dropping?
There was a big jump. Like every 20 years, there's a cigar boom. So there was a boom in the 70s, and that was saying that cigarettes were bad for you.
I was just going to ask you, is it the whole non-smoking
people went to
thing?
Cigars. Little cigars took off big time, and regular cigars took off. This is before my time. But after that boom happened again. It started dropping off. And I don't know, I'm not sure the number. I'm going to guess right now we do high 300 million to 400 million cigars are imported in the U.S. I think it was 100 million. It was as low as 100 million at that time. That's how bad it had dropped. And then the boom of the 90s happened. It goes back up to 400 million. And then it starts dropping off in the mid 350s. Now it's back up to 400 million again. The COVID years, which was a boom also, 20 years later, coincidentally, every 20 years. So all I got to do is really hang on for another 20 years, and I got another boom coming. But we'll see. We'll see.
Now, do you, when all of this was happening, as far as you starting up and coming in, obviously cigars weren't the way they are. You hear a lot of times the 90s, they just put stuff on the shelf just to put it on the shelf. When did people along the way, was it the Steve Sackers on the internet that changed the way, and the cigar aficionado that changed the way cigars are viewed by flavor, the profile, the first third, second third, final third? Like, when did all that where it was, I can't put something on the shelf to put it on the shelf, but it's got to be great?
Boyd, Cigar Aficionado did put flavor notes that I never knew about. You know, I was 7 years in the business at that point and never described the cigar the way I had read the first issue that came out and said, "Oh my God!" But I do remember a guy came in the cigar shop and he said, "I'm looking for Rigoletto Blackjacks." Rigoletto Blackjack was a machine-made cigar out of, I believe, Tampa, J.C. Newman. And with a broadleaf wrapper, it was actually a good cigar. It was a machine-made cigar, but it was a good cigar. And we had them, and we sold them, and they were fine. They were fine cigars. And a guy comes in one day and says, "Do you happen to have Rigoletto Blackjacks?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And he said, "How many boxes do you have?" And I said, "Wow, that's an odd question. How many do you want?" And he said, "Well, how many do you have?" I said, "Well, how many do you want?" And he said, "I want to know how many you have." And I'm like, "Okay, you're not from the IRS, right? Well, okay, let me go check." And I go into the humidor, I come back out, and I said, I have 4 boxes. And he said, "I'll take all 4. I said, "Okay." So I got all 4, and he goes, "Those aren't for me. Those are from my father-in-law. I don't smoke cigars like that. I smoke nice cigars." He said, "There's nothing wrong with them, but," and I said, "Well, whatever you want." I carry them, so they're nice. So he said, "Let me get some cigars and let you let me know what I should buy." So I go around the store and I tell him what cigars I think are. Are you still there?
Oh yeah.
All right. I thought you're frozen.
No, I'm just listening intently
All
to
right.
you.
So he said, "Pick out some cigars for me." So I just keep picking out cigars. You know, 2 of this, 2 of this, 2 of this, and I'm waiting for him to stop me, but he keeps going. And this is going to turn into a good sale, like a 4 box of Rigolettos, which is cheaper cigars. But I'm showing him all kinds of expensive cigars, and he's saying, "Okay, okay, okay." So he buys all the cigars. I have no idea who he is or what it is, and he leaves. And about 2 weeks later, I get a letter in the mail, and I still have that letter because I didn't know who he was. But I never got a letter like this where he thanked me for selling him the Rigolettos, explaining that it was for his father-in-law, not for me, but how he was treated elsewhere in a fine tobacconist when he said, "I want Blackjack Rigolettos," where they said, "We don't carry that shit," or whatever they said to him. I don't know. But I said, "Sure, I have it," and I got it for him. And he said, "I want to thank you for that. And as far as your cigars that you picked out for me, here is a review on every single cigar you picked out." And he wrote a review of every single thing. And I never seen anything like this before. And I'm like, this has got to be the first blog or review ever. But it was a handwritten, a typewritten letter to me. And that guy was Steve Saka. He's the one that wrote to me, because you mentioned him as a blogger on there.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm like, who is this person? So he comes in, "Oh, did you get my letter?" "Yes, I did," blah, blah, blah. And he's on this internet forum, smoker.smokers something. It's a internet blog site, for the lack of
really, really old driven blog
early
site.
days of the boards,
Like DOS driven block site.
Yes. So I get on there, and because again, I have an employee that's into the computer stuff, and I go, "How do I get on this? What do I do?" So he hooks me up where I get on it, and I start chatting with these guys about cigars all the time. The unfortunate thing for me was I owned a cigar store. I was geeking out, man. I was loving the conversation, but I would say something, and then I would be spam. This is before I even knew what the word spam meant already, but whatever I was doing, I was promoting myself at the same time. And he jumps in and saves the day, and he goes, "Listen, I know Dave well. He's got a booming business. He's telling you about Gloria Cubana that he got in. He can sell that. All he has to do is open the case on the floor, and they're all going to sell in 1 second," which was true. And I was just telling them that, hey, any of these guys that really love cigars or something, I have these Gloria Cubana, which was the shit in that day, in those days. And he said, yeah, believe me, he just doesn't understand. He comes in and sees me a week later and he goes, yeah, you can't be doing that. They're going to beat the shit out of you. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks for saving me, basically. But my producer, Ed Sullivan, that's where I met him. He's my producer to this day, but this was back in the early 90s. And he was one of those cigar geeks on there too. Later turns into a great customer when I moved to New Hampshire because he's up in this area too. But there were people from all around the country talking cigars. And now we have this, his podcasting and blogs and, everybody able to do it. 2010, I learned about this podcast and I go, oh, this is interesting. Let me see if I can put a show together on cigars. And that was 15 years ago. I never stopped. I did them on Saturdays. And
still to this day.
Yeah, 15 years, never missed an episode once. 2 hours, which today I'd say is too long. Attention span doesn't add up to that. I hope we hold the people's attention.
Oh, we will.
But I didn't understand it as well as I do today. And it turned into a great thing also, that it's education. So what is a podcast? It's education, and I hope people are learning something if they want to be educated that I'm providing there. Some entertainment, right? We're goofing around. I do have pants on, but keeping it fun and whatever. And that's when you have a show. It's just like talking about coming into the cigar shop and have an experience. You got a show that's an experience also, right?
Oh,
so
for sure.
Keep that train going too, of the same thing, and have something. If we really did wrap a filler binder and just nothing else, and that's all we talked about,
it'd be boring.
The show would be dull, and it just wouldn't do it. But little segments and little fun stuff, and whatever ends up making entertainment. I hope right now it's July 3rd. Somebody's out there smoking a cigar, listening to us right now. Maybe fireworks are starting to go off, and he's having a good time and getting something out of it, right? That's what it is. And, listen, I'm in the business, really. It's people that are not, there's no profit for them, that they're doing it for the love of it. And I can't thank you and other people like that, because you're actually doing something, helping our industry, while you're doing it because you love it yourself, right? So that's why
very much. I do it also because I'm fortunate enough that I didn't really think anybody would watch the show, and then all of a sudden, I get people that now text me if I don't let them know I'm taking a Thursday off. So it's one of those where it kind of steamrolled into something that I said, okay, I'm just going to run with it. So it's kind of a running joke. It's why I screw up my intros every week, because every week I just don't think anybody's actually going to watch. But it's also kind of fun too. I do it tongue in cheek because at this point in time, it's happened so many times. It's just kind of a running gag. But so. I want to get back to that letter that Steve sent you. As this was like the first time you've heard cigar reviews the way that was written out, did it make sense for you? Did you agree with it? Like, did you have to go back and smoke the cigar and go, holy shit, oh my God, that is what I'm tasting?
I did, flavor notes, especially of there, and he wasn't crazy on the flavor notes and stuff, but one of my favorite cigars in those days was Fonseca Triangulare. So people have these best of lists that come out every year and stuff that people do. Again, going back to my days in the music industry, there was always the song of the year and all that. So in 1992, I started the Cigar of the Year. There was no Cigar Aficionado yet. And here it is, Two Guys Smoke Shop is picking the best cigar of the year. And I did contenders. Here are the contenders. And then here is the Cigar of the Year.
Now, real quick. How did you get that list nationwide? Like, how did you make that list out there?
in those days I was making a catalog.
Okay,
And
catalog.
you remember what catalogs are?
Oh, I'm 40. Are you kidding me? I grew up
Yeah.
getting the Bass Pro Shop, Gander Mountain, all the catalogs, all of them.
So I was putting catalogs out, very, very expensive. I am going to throw one out for old time's sake in this year. So if anybody wants it, go to twoguyscigars.com and put your email, your address in there, because it's going to be a mailed product. You'll get something in the mail, not just in the email. You'll get something in the mail, which is going to be a little goofy catalog, but like going back in time, basically, of Two Guys Smoke Shop. And I'm doing all these nostalgic things anyway. It's going to be a huge financial loss, believe me, but I'm doing it anyway.
Go all out. You only
but,
go 40 once.
Yeah. So where was I going with this? Steve Sock is what?
So I was asking you about the review. Did you agree with the notes? Did you
yeah.
have to like go back and smoke the cigars?
So Cigar of the Year in 1992 was Fonseca Triangulare. I thought this cigar was the most unbelievable cigar. And it was a thicker base. Maybe it was a 54 in those days, but it went down to a triangle. So it went down to a torpedo. And boy, the smoke production on it, and the flavor, the creaminess, the wind. I love mild cigars. Still to this day, I'm more of a mild cigar smoker than a full-bodied cigar smoker. Boy, I thought that cigar was the greatest. I made it. So this was probably 92. I made it the Cigar of the Year. And that's two of the cigars that I told him to smoke. And in his review, he kind of poo-pooed the cigar of I thought was the best cigar of all. And I go, how could he not love this cigar? And his taste profile, as you get to know Steve, is much more full-bodied. Where this was mild and smooth, this was much more full-bodied. You know, they made when he was with Drew Estate, he made a cigar. Oh, it's a Connecticut shade, mild cigar, Chateau Real. Do you remember that at all?
No.
All right, so that was one of his first cigars. He came out with unflavored cigar, Chateau Real. And he was telling me, wow, you're going to love this cigar when it comes out. And I smoked it, and I loved it. When I tell you he nailed my taste profile based on that I love Fonseca Triangulare back in 1992. Not the same cigar, not the same company, anything of today. So please don't look at that cigar and say, this is the one you loved. It's a totally different brand than it was in those days. But he made Chateau Real, and I loved it. And he said, you are the biggest seller of Chateau Real in the nation. You love it. You push the hell out of it. I said, it's a great cigar. He said, we're discontinuing it. We're discontinuing it, which is like, you're discontinuing it. It's a great cigar. He goes, yeah, it's not moving. And what you love has nothing to do with what is happening in the world. And I go, you gotta be kidding me. And
what year was this?
This was before Liga Privada.
Okay.
And then they come out with something more of his, which he was smoking those anyway. You know, that he was having Nick make cigars so that he could smoke, because he wasn't going to smoke acids and stuff himself. So he was smoking things like that, but not Chateau Real either. So it's a Steve Saka show. He's going to listen to the show and say, oh, he's wrong. That's not the way it was and all this stuff. That's the way it was. That's how I recall it. Anyway, Steve, tell me if I'm wrong. But yeah, it was amazing. And then you start learning about, okay, everybody has different tastes, which you realize, but isn't a good cigar no matter if it's not to your liking? Construction was impeccable. The wrapper on it was so elegant. It was underpriced for how good this thing looked. It looked like a seamless Davidoff, for instance, and it was a lower priced cigar with, by the way, Nicaraguan tobacco in it, so it had some body to it, had a lot of character to it. I love the cigar, and what they should have did is said, we'll make a private label for you, Dave, and keep Chateau Real going on. So that's not what they did.
Do you still have any boxes left?
No, I do have some. I may have a box with some singles in it because every once in a while a rep that knows my feeling of that cigar will be in a shop, a collector's type of shop, and see them and say, here, I got these for you. And I go, oh, let me pay for them. I want, no, but you know what happens with milder cigars is they age out.
Yeah,
They actually do not get better. Stronger cigars, yeah, but there's a certain plateau that ends up happening too. I once smoked a Davidoff Dom Perignon. It's a cigar that it was a Cuban cigar. It was like the holy grail of cigars that I wanted this cigar. And I smoked it on Christmas Eve one year. And I paid a lot of money for this cigar. And it absolutely had no taste. I smoked it to the very bottom, waiting for something to happen. It was just like paper. There was no flavor at all.
Ultra light.
The cigar was 25 years old. It was sitting there aging for 25 years. It was gone, unfortunately. It would have been better just to save and never smoke.
So since you brought up Davidoff, I'm really curious actually, because they've been in the news lately around what was it? They sold half the amount of cigars, but made the exact same amount of money because of price increases on their side. What does that tell you? I know what that says for me as somebody that consults businesses, but what does that tell you from a retailer standpoint when you're making the same only because of increases?
Yeah. Well, they should be worried. They should be concerned with that. They were a luxury product that was in a luxury place, and they took care of their brick and mortar appointed merchants. That's what they called us. And it took me 7 years to get the Davidoff brand in our store. We got no's for 7 years. And I appreciated the no's because I said, someday I'm going to get in this and I'm going to be in this class of a place I want to be. And now listen, they may be listening to the show or something, but they know my feelings. I don't hold it back. The next thing you know, they dramatically changed their image of who they were. They went to the discount mail order catalogs. They were in Thompson, JR, Cigars International. This is something a brick and mortar store, good brick and mortar store, waited 7 years to get. And the next thing you know, they're putting them in these discount mail order places and supposedly watching that they didn't discount their product. And then they opened Davidoff.com, direct to consumer. And everything ends up changing. First off, it's not the luxury product that was before. It's not that I'm an appointed merchant. Suppose they still say the same thing.
What do you mean by luxury product it was before? Clarify that.
I joked with the big shots up there at Davidoff one day, and I called them up and I said, and I know they were into watches, and I said, hey, did you hear Rolex is now being sold at Walmart? And he goes, no way. They're into watches themselves too. One of the big shots worked as a president of one of the big watch companies. And I said, yeah, Rolex is now at Walmart. And he goes, no way, I can't believe that. I go, I'm just joking with you. But Davidoff's in Thompson. And he goes, oh, I see what you did there. And I said, that's what happened. Rolex went into Walmart. It didn't really happen, but isn't that absurd if Rolex did that?
Ooh.
But Davidoff did.
Ooh.
That's what Davidoff did.
Ooh.
So,
did he give you a look after that comparison? Because I mean, that's a fair statement. What was the look on his like?
Oh yeah.
Did he like? Would you like? I mean, that's a fair statement.
So that's what ended up happening there. And by that happening, that's what opens the doors for things like Atabay, Opus X, Padron high end, and then these other ones that are getting in, Plasencia. And now we have an ultra premium category of some real good brands, and then some other people trying to get in, which, they're just doing it very different. And I don't believe in the others, but I believe those other ones all belong in that league. That league was never touched by anybody before. Nobody would even try to get into that. They were all by themselves. They were all by themselves when they were in Cuba. That was the highest end. And the next thing you know comes Cohiba Behike. which blows everything out of the water as far as price goes at that point.
Yes.
And there you go. And so this short-term gain thing of raising prices for the sake of raising prices, right? There's no reason for it. They do it every year. There's the annual Davidoff price increase. And that's how they make up their margins, obviously, right? They come right out and say it. They're not a publicly traded company. That's a family-owned and operated company.
It is.
They have a board of directors and everything. They don't have to share those numbers.
No.
And I find it so bizarre. Like sometimes you'd share the number maybe to show off, right? You had another great year and here's our numbers or whatever. To put that type of thing out there, which I had the same exact feeling on, it was negative and it makes you look bad. But I'll tell you, they're telling the truth. It's honest. I'll give them that. They're being honest.
Can't be mad at the honesty of it, but you could be disappointed in the fact that they're happy that they posted those numbers happily because of raising prices and dwindling sales to show they made the same amount. Yeah. Now, since we're on the topic of luxury, I'm also really curious to hear your stance because I feel like the last 3 years at the PCA have been the PCA of $100 cigar.
Yeah.
What does that do for you guys in the shop? Obviously, the celebratories, there's $1,500 cigars. Or I'm not saying that a $100 cigar is the most expensive cigar in the market, but I feel like I'm seeing a lot of obviously normal price cigars. I say normal, about 15 and under price cigars, obviously. But I feel like over the last several years, we've seen a lot of 50 over, even 100 over, more so than in previous. Where is all this coming from? Is it because I can? Is a $100 cigar worth $100? I had somebody tell me once that the reality of it is, this guy I talked to who's been in the industry for like 15 years, he smokes a ton of cigars. He goes, I don't even know if my palate's refined enough to understand what a $100 cigar is.
No, it's so bad. It's bad for the industry. Part of it started with the COVID days where people were looking for more expensive and more expensive stuff because they had nowhere to spend money, because the only place you could spend money was booze and alcohol. I mean, alcohol or cigars, because there was no ball game to go to, no concerts to go to. Disposable income was for that. And as that boom happened, and it takes 3 years to make a cigar, everybody started ramping up and getting into these $20 and over cigars. That's where I have the problem at the $20 level. There needs to be a reason for a cigar to be $20 and over.
100%. Absolutely. Right? It's why I was actually really happy with and I'll let you finish, but the legacy, I love the fact that Perdomo kept it. And by the way, if you really want to watch a lot of great Perdomo coverage from PCA, you got to check out Dave's coverage of the legacy. It's fantastic. He actually launched it from the PCA. It was the first interview of the PCA for legacy. That's a normal price cigar for them. That could have been a $30 10-count box for $300 or $400 because it's a family-driven cigar. If that was Fuente, that would have been a $40, $50 Opus X.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I think, what do they call that? Jump the shark.
Yeah.
I think over the years, Fuente has jumped the shark. Padron has jumped the shark. $75 for the 60th anniversary. I tell the story on that when I went to the trade show. There was the Padron, what is it? The Padron 60, right? 60.
Mm-hmm. 60th.
And there it was in the display case, and I walk over to it, and there's a younger man that's there I never saw before, and he said, what do you think? I said, beautiful. I was dying to see it. He said, well, no samples. I said, well, of course not. You're Padron. There's never a sample. I said, the packaging looks great. Everything's good. I said, how much? And he said, we have no idea yet. How many would you like to buy? And I said, how much are they? And he said, I told you, we have no idea. How many do you want to buy? I said, well, the answer would be 0.
Yeah. That makes no sense. What?
So in walked George Padron at that moment. So I don't know if he touched his ear and said, this guy's not biting or whatever code was going on, George Padron comes right over and he says, hey, what do you think of it? And we go through the same rigmarole. And I said, how much? And he says, we don't know. And he says, how many you want to buy? And I said, none. I said, what kind of bullshit is that? I said, you've gone too far of saying that's it. You're just going to buy it. And he said, come on, you want to get on the list before we're going to figure it out. I go, well, I'm afraid what you're going to do with the price. You just came out with an almost $200 cigar with the Fuente Padron collaboration thing.
Mm-hmm.
He says, no, this isn't going to be like that. I said, I'm afraid it's the 60th anniversary and you're going to charge $60. And he said, no, we're not. I said, okay, let me buy it. So I ordered 150 boxes. And he was telling the truth. It wasn't $60. It's $75.
Now, do you call and be like, dude, I'm not buying that many boxes at that point? Like, because they kind of did a bait and switch without giving you a price, but he made it sound like it wasn't going to be 60.
Right.
It wasn't going to be 60, but it was going to be lower than 60.
More. And, I told the story when I came back from the show, and I said, I ordered them, and I don't know how much they're going to be. So I told the story way in advance to everybody, because I had a feeling that the punchline was coming down the road and exactly what was going to happen. And I say a punchline, I'm on the receiving end of the punchline,
Yeah.
but it's exactly what ended up happening. And we've received very few. I don't think we've received 10 boxes since. There's a major packaging problem and shit ends up happening or whatever. So who knows? The 10 boxes that we received, people are fighting over them. So yes, there is a buyer for it. When we get to a $100 cigar, I've actually never really sold a $100 cigar.
So the unicorns don't really sell a lot? I figure you're a Dunbarton shop for sure.
Oh, I don't buy them because I'm afraid of buyer's remorse. And let me preface this by the first $100 cigar to ever come out was me. And it came out 16 years ago. And it was for my 26th anniversary, whatever number it was then. 25th was my 25th anniversary. This is 40. So it was 15 years ago. 15 years ago, I put out a $100 cigar called Two Guys 25th Anniversary Cigar. And a box came with 2 cigars in it. And the box cost $200. And there's only 2 cigars in it. But it came with a gift with purchase. And the gift with purchase was a silver bar. A minted silver bar that cost me
you posted
more than
that.
$200.
You posted a picture. Somebody had that.
So that was the first one to come up, but it was a joke because I gave you a $200 silver bar and 2 cigars. And yes, the cigars were nice and, we did it up and all that stuff, but how many we made, and that was the idea of it. But I sure hope I had nothing to do with that. That joke had nothing to do with really coming out with $100 cigars, because I worry, we talk about lifetime value of the customer, right? I really value my customer. It takes a long time to get a customer, and it takes 2 seconds to lose them.
Yes.
I don't want that to happen. And what's going to happen when you buy that $100 cigar? I have to imagine you're not going to be thrilled with it. There's going to be buyer's remorse. You're going to smoke it and you say, it's an okay cigar for $10, $20, $25, $50. I don't think anyone in their right mind is going to smoke and say, now that was worth $100. Ever. That you're lying to yourself if you say that was worth $100. Because I've paid $300 for a cigar before because of the rarity of the cigar that was on my bucket list or whatever. And at the end of it, I go, it was good for $12. But even though I paid $300.
I think when it comes to the $100 cigar, you're buying the cigar for the experience the cigar's for. So, like, I'm right there with you. I am super freaking cheap, okay? Like, $20 is an expensive cigar in my book. Like, if I'm spending $20, I love you as a brand. I mean, I love you as a brand. I think when it comes to the hundreds, my take on it, I don't know why there's so many out there. I think it's ridiculous. But my take on it, one, there's certain brand loyalty fans that understand what $100 cigar means. Like you take a Dunbarton. I think there's a lot of people out there that smoke the Dunbartons because it's like I'm experiencing this celebration with Steve.
Yeah.
I'm such a big Dunbarton fan. And I bring up Steve a lot because his fans are absolutely ravidly nuts Dunbarton heads. Like I'm one of them. So like I know, but I don't think personally. I've had some people being kind enough to give me really really expensive stuff, and they asked me if I liked it, and I say yeah, but that's the wrong question. The better question is would I have bought it if you didn't give it to me? And the answer is no.
Yeah.
And now if my daughter was graduating high school or college, would I buy $100 cigar just to burn $100 in a celebration? Yeah. But I agree with you. If somebody's smoking it on a daily, it's a disappointment. But I think if they
Yeah.
smoke it as a celebration, that lifts that experience up. And that's when that cigar does become good. Would you
What
agree
we're
with that?
missing, yeah, what we're missing doing those type of things that are happening out there is people are not brand building. That's not building a brand. There is no loyalty to that cigar. It is nobody's regular rotation. It is nobody's. All I smoke is that $100 cigar. That's all I smoke. I smoke those. That's it. That's what I love. There's no way. There's not one person. You are not building a brand. It's a marketing thing to say we got $100 cigar. Maybe now you smoke our regular $15 cigar, and you say, it's kind of like that or whatever because it's the same brand. I equate that to like let's look at Opus X for instance, Toro Fuente, Opus X, and they're expensive cigars. And this a Toro Fuente curly heads. The curly head is a little machine-made cigar. Maybe it's about $2. I don't even know how much they are today. And it says a Toro Fuente right on the band. The curly head deluxe has the little band that says a Toro Fuente. The guy you got to imagine is probably millions of people smoking curly heads. That's their regular cigar, and somebody that's smoking Opus X. You're both saying you're smoking a Toro Fuente. What do you smoke? I smoke a Toro Fuente. Oh, I smoke a Toro Fuente too. Who's smoking a Toro Fuente? What is the brand? Is the brand, maybe it's a bad example because Opus X does say it's a different brand. It's Fuente, Opus X, and not. But you get where I'm going with this. That we the industry, if I could talk to the whole manufacturing industry, is get back to building brands, not the one-off thing. And I geek over it too. The new hot releases out there, and I got to get my hands on one. I'm smoking Firecracker because it's 4th of July, and here's a limited release Micallef Firecracker that came out, and I got to get my hands on it too. I fall into the prey of it also, but at the same time, I'm looking at it as I'm reflecting of 40 years in this industry. What's the last brand that was built? Big name brand that was built from nothing, and now it is a big name brand. Maybe you got to go to Drew Estate to what is the Fat Bottom Betty one? What's that line called?
Fat Bottom Girls. Oh, sorry. I was thinking Queen when you said that.
No, Fat Bottom Betty. There's a name of the line of the cigar.
Yeah.
That's happened to be one of the sizes.
Deadwood.
Deadwood. That's a brand. Deadwood is a strong brand, and it's relatively new. But there's a brand. You have the brand. It exists. Anything newer than that you could say here's a brand that you understand what the brand is all about, that became big, selling millions and millions of cigars, not these boutiques and stuff that they have brands, but they certainly haven't made it to the level of Rocky Patel brand, Perdomo brand, La Flor Dominicana's brand. These are guys that came in from the 90s cigar boom, made it through and built a brand, strong brand name that you understand what that is. When CAO sold, that was a brand. These are from the 90s. Look into the 2020s. Is there a brand? No, because we're all going for this low-hanging fruit, bang, 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 grab the thing. But at the end of it, you've made a sale, but you haven't built a brand on it. So I'm studying that myself because listen, I own a lot of brands. I own United Cigar Company that has brands within it, and I go, there's not really a strong brand. Like which of those ones that I have is going to be the next brand, big brand that will be out like a Perdomo.
Okay, so since you brought this up, define big brand versus boutique, and does it matter?
It doesn't matter because the guy with the boutique company is making a nice living and he's doing just fine.
So define boutique. Define boutique.
Boutique, first off, has to be family owned and operated. I don't think it'd be a big corporation for somebody to take, let's take Cigars International and take their Diesel brand and say that's a boutique brand. They're making tens of millions of them, and it's a European giant, the number one tobacco company in the world, Scandinavian Tobacco, that owns it. I don't think you can call it boutique, although it looks boutique. It looks, and they have now the moose, chillin' moose, and all that stuff. They're making it look boutique, but that would be Budweiser trying to take one of their beers and saying it's a microbrew beer. It's certainly not. They're making millions of them, right? This is what I'm thinking, and this argument, I've had this argument before with different people of how is it defined what a boutique cigar.
So you don't define it by 1 million cigars a year.
1 million cigars is not a lot of cigars.
That's what I mean. So a lot of people define it as if you're selling over 1 million, you're not boutique.
All right, so I know.
But there's cigars that sell over 1 million that call themselves boutique. That's what I mean. It's a contentious definition. That's why I like asking the question.
I know Roma Craft actually always says they only make 1 million cigars a year. So they've been out there for a while. Would you say they're a boutique company? I would say yes.
I would say yes.
And they do make 1 million.
I would say Dunbarton's boutique.
And they probably make more.
They do, but I had somebody once tell me that boutique is any brand that you can't walk into a shop and the average cigar owner, shop owner doesn't know or heard of.
So you would say unsuccessful, not marketed properly. It turns negative into that you go into a cigar shop and the cigar shop doesn't know it means bad marketing, right? The guy in the cigar shop doesn't even know what it is. Hasn't been advertised enough. The problem with advertising is it's very, very difficult to advertise cigars. You can try to hit the cigar aficionado, and it's very, very expensive. Big. We're talking $50,000 ad, and you have to do it for the year, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yep.
To pull something like that off. Where do you go? You go here. You can advertise with you, which is direct target marketing, by the way. It's very good advertising that everybody that's listening to the show, I have to imagine, except maybe somebody in my family that is listening because I'm on the show or something. But short of that, everybody who's listening to this show is a cigar consumer. What's better than that? Direct target marketing.
For sure.
If you advertise on a TV show or something, 99% of the people won't be interested in the product we're selling. Where in a case like this, 100% direct target marketing is great. But for the masses to try to hit, because the people listening to this show are cigar geeks also, that not only consume cigars, but want to talk about them. The majority of cigar smokers, I'll tell you as a retailer, are not listening to cigar podcasts. They're just consumers. They don't geek over it. They just smoke a lot of cigars. The heavier users of it, that's what we call them, guys smoking 5-6 cigars a day. So a box of cigars don't last them a week. They're going to buy 2 boxes at a time when they come in. they don't know what my podcast is. They don't know.
No.
They're just consumers, big consumers of the product.
5% of cigar smokers watch podcasts. It's a
Okay.
very geeky. And that's what always throws me off is when I'm like, how do you not know this brand? And I'm like, oh, I keep forgetting, like, I'm a fucking geek with this stuff. Like
Right.
it is, I literally, I 2-3 cigars a day, if not more sometimes. So, but please continue.
So it's a hard thing to answer because there is no definition. I've done a whole show on this, trying to come up with, okay, we're the Cigar Authority. We're going to have the definition of what this is. One of the things is I think it has to be family owned and operated. By the way, the word boutique comes from a store, a boutique.
Yep.
It would actually originate from a brick and mortar store.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I can't think of one that didn't, but almost every successful cigar brand that ever came out started in cigar stores.
Yep.
Cigar stores build cigar brands. And I've heard retailers saying, I don't build cigar brands. I don't want to build cigar brands. That's what we do. That is what our nature is, that we build a cigar brand. The problem is when a cigar brand gets built and then they go round two, let me go to the discount mail order company and let them steal the customer away from us. They'll make the sale and we'll lose the sales from them after building it. I understand the frustration that ends up happening. I don't know if the manufacturer understands that frustration, but it's certainly there. And that's a unique situation that I'm in because I'm in all aspects of the media. Mm-hmm. I'm a brand owner. I'm a distributor to other brands that I distribute for Nelson Alfonso and Selected Tobacco. And
you're an Atabay distributor.
Right. So I'm a distributor. I'm a brand owner. I'm a retailer. I'm a mail order company. And I'm media. I'm cigar media also. So I'm in all aspects of it. And what I like about that is I can switch hats at any time and understand the issues that are happening to the retailer if I was to let the discount mail order guy have one of our brands, which I don't. So we don't let that ever happen because I'm on the receiving end of it and say, I don't like when you do that to me. I help build a brand for you, and then you take it and you're gonna put that customer that I put on it at risk of me losing them. The last thing I want to do to somebody who buys cigars from United Cigar is to actually hurt them. My job is to help them and make a better retailer out of them, make more money, be more successful. I want to drive them off online and go to their store. That would be the ideal situation. So it's not there for a better price. It's not there. They want it. They beg for it. The answer is no, you can't have it. Let me tell you, there's not really another cigar company that does that because it's so easy to accept that check. They'll write the big check. There won't be any problem at all. Here, they'll end up taking it because their customer acquisition mode kicks in. I get it. I understand that's part of it. When I have a rep that comes in to working for another cigar company and I talk to them, I want to know about the cigar rep themselves, the representative of the company, whether it be a broker or a company person. What I love is when they tell me I used to work in a cigar shop and I say, beautiful. You understand my position, and I understand your position. So we're going to get along just fine. The problem is when they don't understand the other person's position, like a brand owner who was never a retailer and says, oh, I'm just going to keep doing this because I make money from the retailer. I build it. I pass it on to the discount mail order company. I launch the next one. It goes to the retailer. It goes to the discount online. I do it again. In the meantime, hey, we got to help our brick and mortar retailers out because they're hurting. Yeah, no shit, they're hurting. They're hurting because you keep driving their customers away from them. So that has to stop. Or they at least have to get educated to understand the circle that ends up happening, crushing the brick and mortar retailer. The next thing you know, the brick and mortar retailer says, I'm not taking on a new boutique brand because I don't want the same thing to happen to me. I'm not going to build a brand. I'll come to it after it already gets popular. Well, it's not going to get popular if it's not the brick and mortar.
Everyone takes that approach. It's never going to get popular.
So here's this thing. I love this industry. I love cigars. I'm juiced up about it all the time. I want it to succeed. And I don't know how to change this behavior. So I say it. I say it to them. I bring it up to them. But sometimes it's the almighty dollar, man. It just it gets in the way of progress.
No, it does. And that's I I support a local shop here that helped launch my show. I support that shop predominantly because I'm very good friends with the owner. Every single time I go in, I buy a couple, 3, 4, 5 cigars. I don't buy all of my cigars from him, but every time I go in, I try to buy a couple to 5 at a time. I don't go in there a lot either, but he doesn't offer online. I don't really. We don't have the closest shop to me is 45 minutes away. I smoke way too much in Colorado to spend 67% on sales tax.
Yeah.
So I buy from you, I buy from Abe, I buy exclusives, around. So like for me, it's I go to the retailer, one that has what I like, two that I find is a genuine person that has a great shop and a great take on the industry. It's I have some shops you could totally tell are run by hobbyists. And my biggest faux pas with a shop is when I go into a new shop, because I always try to, I'm sure just like you, if you're somewhere new, oh, there's a cigar shop, let me just go and look at it. And one of the things that I will not shop at a store is when the owner tells me I don't carry it because I don't like it.
No.
It's not about you, brother. Like, do you think like the Ford dealership likes every Ford car they carry? No. But it's not so that's something of like when you hear that as somebody that's been in this industry, because I know for a fact you have carried hundreds, if not thousands, of cigars that you personally have had zero interest in. You don't have to name any brands, zero interest in ever smoking, but your patrons do. And you're probably like, I can't believe people smoke this thing this
Yeah.
much to a few of them. Again, won't ask you any brands. What do you say to a retailer when you hear a retailer say that doesn't know who you are?
Yeah. Like you said, it's not about you. It's about the customer. That's why we come to work every day. If any employees were in here right now, they'd hear it because they hear that words out of me every day. The customer is not an interruption of our day. It is the only reason why we came to work here today. Does everybody understand that? Yes, they do. Okay, we're there for the customer. What we are going to try to do as buying cigars is make sure we can get the best possible cigar for the best possible price, because everybody wants to sell our cigars. They come in the mail or the people drop them off every day. Every brand I've heard of or haven't heard of. The two things that must have to happen for us to buy a cigar. It must burn and it must draw. Those have to happen. If
It's
either of those
90% of the problem.
Yes, if either of those things happen, it's a no-show, and I don't care how many people are asking for it or anything. It can't make the cut into our store if that ends up happening. Now, okay, this is a medium body Dominican cigar. Okay, let's look at it. Let's look at medium body Dominican cigars. Here is a whole bunch of medium body Dominican cigars. Here's where they're priced at. I can look at a cigar and say it's a little overpriced, it's a little underpriced, it's a lot overpriced. And then what is that manufacturer going to do? Do they have online presence? Are they in the catalogs already? Okay, I'm not interested right away. If it's on the front cover of the discount Guys catalog, I'm not interested. That's a no. That may be, even if I carry it, that may be a discontinue. Okay, I'm gonna lose the customer to
Now
this,
it's a
right?
discontinued, not because it's a bad cigar, but
Correct.
because somebody undercut you so much,
It's
you
bad for
can't make
business.
money off of it.
It's bad for business.
Well, I say that because I need people. I always like people to know that discount in a discount bin at a shop doesn't mean it's a bad cigar. Shops sell certain cigars. 2 miles down the road, that cigar might sell like crazy. But
Yeah.
to Dave's point, it's being highlighted on the front of a cover at a price significantly lower than what he can ever sell it for. So it's a moot point for him to bring it in, right?
Yeah. And the way that plays out is so diabolical of how it happens that they sell it to them at a really good price, and they put it on there and they discount the hell out of it, and they sell them. And when they start slowing down on the sale, they go back to them and they say, you have to sell them to me cheaper because they didn't sell well at that price. Now you have to give it to me even cheaper. And the person says, I can't go any lower than that. And then they say, okay, we're going to discontinue it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that guy went into major production to be able to fulfill this guy's order, and he's in big, big trouble at that point.
Yep.
And I've seen companies go out of business.
Yep.
They went to bed with the devil, and the next thing you know, they're out of business. What turns out to be the happiest day of their lives, getting that big order, turns out to be the worst thing that ever happened to him and puts him out of business. It's like the guy that gets the boat, right? He buys a boat, happiest day of his life. Second happiest day is the day he sold it because he couldn't afford it in the first place.
You know what BOAT stands for, right? Bust out another 1,000.
Here we go.
Just like BMW stands for bring my wallet.
Here we go. So true. So true.
But you bring up a good point, and it's one of those things that I feel that for a manufacturer to like blatantly go against the public, let me rephrase this. For a manufacturer that you have had a friendship with for X amount of years to then find out that you're undercutting them, like that puts a strain on the whole brand's relationship with the retailer. Like I have to assume that a lot of retailers will stop carrying a brand when they do that type of stuff.
Well, they should. Some of them don't because, like you said, they're hobbyists and they're not looking as deep as you, a consumer, looks into this industry. Believe me, the cigar media that's out there is more in tune to what's going on in the cigar industry than a lot of people that's their business to know, and they don't. And you know what? They're making a living and they're doing just fine, apparently, or whatever, until they're not. But I don't know what's in me, the entrepreneurial spirit. My job is to get better and better every day. I want to be better today than I was yesterday, and I'm 40 years into it. It's always the case. And part of that is when a manufacturer is doing the wrong thing, the best thing I can do is to not have that product anymore. I never want to actually even hurt the consumer. If that's your regular brand that's in there, that's a funny situation that's there. I'm discontinuing. There's a guy that comes and smokes it every single day. We may turn that brand into a box only sale, and it's always here for you if you want it, but we're going to, we'll have that conversation with them. Hey, listen, the ones that are left on the shelf right now, this is the last ones. We're going to discontinue it unless you want us to continue to carry it by the box. We'll always have it for you, but we have to give up that shelf space for whatever reason, right? And choose usually one of those reasons. Because shelf space is valuable. It's like real estate, regular real estate. Real estate within the store is important. And the wrong real estate is another thing that ends up happening. You come into my store and there's brand X. And brand X you see online at $5 a piece. And it's $12 in my store. And you see it, you know that it's $5 online because you saw it. It's $12 in my store. You assume now at that moment, everything in the store is overpriced.
Yes.
Not the case.
Yes.
So look what that's doing. So I've taken cigars off the shelf when something like that happens. I get them and I put them in a box. I don't even want them to be seen. I'll figure out what to do with them after.
Yeah.
But right now, that could harm my entire business by people all of a sudden thinking that we're overcharging.
You're ripping them off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, as I tell you, it takes forever to get the customer, 1 second to lose them. That guy will not even say anything. You'll just never see him again. You bump into him someday and you say, what happened? I started buying from somebody else or something. I don't know if you'll ever get the truth out of it, but you can imagine yourself as a consumer, that you'd say, guy's selling brand X for $12 a piece. I get them from so-and-so at $5. he's overcharging $7 per cigar. Oh my God, what's he doing?
Yeah.
And he's not. He's not. He's at suggested retail price, but there's somebody ruining the brand. Now they'll go to that manufacturer and say, listen, your cigars aren't selling. You got to lower your price to sell to us. The guy can't lower the price. The next thing you know, he's going out of business because the retailer already pulled it from their shelves. You lost the retailer and that guy, and I've seen it. I could make a list of, and I don't want to say and hurt anybody's feelings, but there's brands out there, and they'll get big ratings in Cigar Aficionado too. And I'll talk to the owner, and I say, hey, how's things going? He'd call me up. It's Christmas time or something. We don't do business anymore. We're still friends. I see him at the show, and he's a nice guy. And I go, oh, congratulations, 94 rated. Holy shit, good for you. He goes, nobody's buying the cigar. And I go, I know.
So
I certainly aren't.
So I have a question for you that I hope you answer, because I'm really curious if you've used your privilege as a shop owner for your own gain, in the sense of, and please, if you're willing to say the brand and the cigar, you're more than welcome to. What is a brand or a line of cigars that you don't, or for some reason doesn't sell in the shop, but you order for you personally?
I don't think there's anything ever that.
Really? So you don't have like a, this doesn't sell here so well, but I love it, so I buy a couple boxes for myself?
No, I bought, and let's go to an expensive cigar. When I first bought Atabey at the trade show, it was $20 to $30. And I'm telling you, I'm against $20 cigars. But I smoked that cigar, and it was so unique and something different I ever had. And I bought them, and I said, if I can't sell them in the store because I thought there was a good possibility I'd never be able to sell that cigar. This is New Hampshire. This isn't Las Vegas, and this isn't, this is New Hampshire's where I am. And $20 to $30 cigars, and I'm going back 12 years ago when it came out. If it doesn't sell, I'll smoke it myself, because I was that much in love with that cigar. As a matter of fact, Nelson Alfonso says, you love that brand more than your own. It's not my brand. It's his brand. And United Cigar is now the distributor, but we weren't then. It was a different distributor. And I said, I'm going to take that brand on. If nobody buys them, it'll be my own stash. Thank God people bought them. And I even though I'm even buying them wholesale, I still only smoke probably one of those cigars a week, because I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to ruin myself on it.
Too much of a good thing, huh?
Yeah, it's every time I have one, it is special, and it's usually a Friday afternoon or something. And I'll say, okay, it's time to have this. I checked off all my to-dos that I had to get done, and I'll go, all right, I'm going to have a cigar for me, because frankly, on the desk is a whole bunch of cigars of things I have to smoke, of people trying to sell me a cigar. So we jokingly say we smoke shitty cigars so you don't have to. Because honestly, we turn most of them down. Somebody sends a sample. You can't take everything, and they come in all day, every day. So we smoke the cigar and say, it's good. Honestly, most cigars are good. It's very rare you get a bad one nowadays. I think the quality of the tobacco itself has never been better. Agriculturally, they got it really going on. And very odd when you get people misblending before they put a cigar out. If you get something early on, maybe. But there was a little bit during the COVID time where you'd have a little ammonia taste to it and stuff. And I go, they're turning into what the 90s were like. They're starting to get bad. Thank God that bounced back. There was a little short window in there. But for the most part, stuff is coming in really good. But honestly, mostly overpriced. As I look at the price of them, and I know what it costs to make a cigar, and I know costs went up, and I know what those costs went up. But everybody's decided, like the company you mentioned earlier, that we're just going to raise the price and we'll sell less cigars, but raise the price. I think there's a lot of that going on, and that's going to bite you, because the economy, this is a product that we like to smoke, but has no addictive qualities to it. My business gets cut in half in the wintertime because they're not smoking
Yeah.
in the wintertime, so they stop. That's not the case in the cigarette industry. It's not the case in the vape industry, in the pouches. It doesn't change all year round. But for cigars, it changes dramatically because there is no addictive quality to it. We don't need it. We want it. That's all.
No,
And
absolutely. I agree
when it
with
gets
you.
priced out, and I know through 4 different times that the economy kind of tanked. And each time the economy tanks, one of the first people that know is a cigar shop because it's the first thing they give up. The restaurants still go. They haven't given that up yet.
Yep.
But it happens on cigars that they'll either hopefully drop down in price, which is what I'm seeing today, that somebody walks over to the cabinet. Everything went up because of the tariffs, right? So in the past 2 months, we've changed the price on just about every single cigar in the store. And you're watching the guy pick up the cigar and looking at it and looking at the price and putting it down, start looking. And he's saying, I want to spend $10 on a cigar, $12, whatever his magic number is. And he's looking, and this $12 one is now $14. He puts it back down and he walks back over and he looks, and you know something? He might not get a 12, he might get a 10. He might go to a bundle, or he might stop altogether. That's what ends up happening. I've seen the cycle 4 times. We're in that cycle right now. Hopefully it's a short time. I don't know, but we're in it. And I look at numbers. I'm like crazy with every analytics. We just got through Q2. Half a year is up. What's going on? We're doing product launches. We just did Perdomo's Legacy launch. We got every manufacturer.
First shop in the country that launched that.
Yeah. And we're barely up. I got to imagine everybody else is down because I've been pulling the rabbit out of my hat every day trying to keep this train going. Very, very tough. So imports, I'm looking at the import numbers, they're down. Honest manufacturers that I'm friends with that I've known for years and years tell me. They tell me the truth. And what do we do about it? You know, we have these conversations of, if you tell me the truth, we can figure out what to do with it. If you're lying to me and you say everything's gravy and everything's good and things are wonderful and all that stuff, then there's nothing to talk about, right? Keep doing what you're doing because that's the right thing. No, the answer right now is value. Right?
It is. It is. It has to be, and that's where a lower price cigar is oftentimes, in my opinion, a better value. Because I go to a 20 or 30 and I'm like, I could get like literally the same thing for a little bit less. But I want to address this here. James, thank you so much for the first time you're watching this show. You couldn't have started with a better show. We actually have a living legend here on the show tonight. So you couldn't have started. It's every single Thursday night. Dave's been on I think Dave's been on 4 times now. He keeps coming back. He likes it. He tells me he does. But I appreciate you watching the show, James, for your first time, and I hope you come back every single Thursday. I do 48 to 50 shows a year. So this is what I love to do. Absolutely. Now, Dave, here in closing the show, I want you to talk about what is your favorite thing. And so 3 things. What is your favorite thing you see when you walk into a new shop? What is the biggest pet peeve that makes you almost just want to leave? And what's something you'll tolerate in a shop?
I don't go to a lot of shops. I have my own problems with my own 3 shops that do it. And I have what I call brown M&Ms. Do you know the story of the brown M&M in the rock world that Van Halen would ask for a jar of 5 pounds of M&Ms in a clear jar in their dressing room at their concerts?
But it was one color.
Missing the brown ones.
Yes,
all the brown ones had to be removed. Everybody looked at them as their asshole rock and rollers that demand this, that it be out of there. But there was a reason for it. The reason for that was to make sure that the people that they hired to come do this event with them could handle that minor detail. If they walked in and that wasn't done properly, they checked every bolt, nut and bolt that was on the stage to make
The
sure everything was
simplest of
transparent.
littlest things show
Correct.
that.
And it happened because of Michael Jackson burned his hair during a fire of a
Pepsi
Pepsi
commercial.
And then they implemented this brown M&M thing that said, all right, let me do something. So that's where that comes from. So I have those things, and there's certain things that I want to happen at Two Guys Smoke Shop. First off, we'll call Two Guys Smoke Shop. And by the way, we're going to change our name of Two Guys Smoke Shop after 40 years. This year in September, we'll make the announcement. Because the fact of the matter is, Two Guys.
I wish my breaking news button worked.
Two Guys has really been one guy for longer than it's been two guys. My brother passed away more than 20 years ago. It's been one guy all this time. And the word smoke shop meant something different in 1985 than it does now. we have people coming in looking for synthetic urine. The weirdest things that they come in looking for, but that's not what we are either. So on the stage at the New England Cigar Expo, I'm going to unveil the new name of Two Guys Smoke Shop after 40 years. So where was I going with that to get to that? I'm looking for the M&M, right?
Yeah.
So I put these things in here, and I tell my employees when I walk in the store, what are the first, like especially a manager, you come in the morning, you're the first one in. I want you to take your first step in and look at the first 5 things that you see when you walk into the store, and write it down. The first 5 things that you see. And then later in the day, I want you to walk out, come back in, and do it the same thing. And what it should be is singles, boxes of cigars, single cigars, boxes of cigars, lighters, cutters, and humidors. Maybe in ashtrays, if they're for sale. And that's what you should see. And if you say anything else, the store is not designed properly, because I want them to walk in and say, oh, I'm in the wrong store. You don't have synthetic urine. You don't have cigarettes. You don't have whatever. And it happens. They come in and they look and they know they're in the wrong store as soon as they walk in. So even though it's a big giant sign that says cigars, there's a giant sign that's lit up and smoke's pouring out of it, and it has a cigar on it. It happens. But at least when they walk in, they're going to know they came into the right place. What I shouldn't see is the back closet door open with your coats hanging up in the back room, people sitting around the lounge area. You shouldn't be able to see that either. We moved from across the street to the building we're in now 20 years ago. And when we moved over, people came in and said, oh my God, this store is so much nicer. I always hated going into your old store. And I said, what? You hated going into the old store. Why is that? And they said, when I walked in, the seating area was right there, and everybody stared at me when I walked in. All the regulars that are sitting in there, somebody walks in, all eyes go to that person, and they always said it was very uncomfortable walking in. And I said I had no idea. And from that day forward, the lounge area was pushed in the back on any store that I opened up, and said I didn't realize that.
But that makes sense.
Right? All this stuff ends up doing it. So what do I want to accomplish? I want it to be going into whatever, and my wife, if she's listening, she'll laugh too, because we go into a restaurant, I sit down, I go, I don't know why the waitress station is over there, but if they put it over here, it'll be much better. The flow would move around. And she goes, can you just sit here and enjoy your meal? And I go, I am enjoying it. Like I enjoy, right? Why do I do this? Bar rescue. It's like I'm that bar rescue guy at all times, anywhere I go. Of why is that there when it should be over there? Like
that's your curse. That's your retail curse. That's your retail.
So I go into I go into good cigar shops, and they're not asking me, and I'm not going to tell them either unless they ask. But Like I'm dumbfounded sometimes. And being 40 years in your own business, you got blinders on. You go to work every day and you don't even see the trees through the forest. I urge cigar shop owners to open your eyes. Go look at it like you're a consumer. Walk into your own store like you're a consumer and see what's wrong. You're going to be blown away if you really be honest with yourself and say, that's not me. That's not what this shop should be. Dingy and dirty bathrooms is not cool. It's not a thing. Nobody likes it. Whether you think your customers like that stuff. I like this old memorabilia 5-cent cigar sign. If you don't sell cigars for 5 cents, why do you have a sign that says 5 cents?
That just reminds people how cheap they used to be. By the way, I got to acknowledge we had Arthur Kemper in here tonight.
Oh,
I know you know who Arthur is. Yeah. Love Arthur. He's been on the show as well. Still waiting for Nick to come on, Arthur. We got to make that happen. But we'll make that happen at some point. But no, I mean, the layout of a shop really makes a big difference. It makes a big difference on the feel of it. It makes a big difference on the invitingness of it. And that's really what you want in a cigar shop. You want somebody to buy. You really do want the guy that will sit there and smoke a cigar, buy another one, smoke a cigar, buy another one, smoke a cigar. That only happens if it's inviting. That only happens if it's comfortable.
Yeah. Empty cigar shelves. When they got empty boxes and stuff, they leave the box on there and it's empty and they don't have a refill for it, and will close the lid on it. You're looking at what looks like is going out of business. I'm a big believer in pile them high and watch them fly. All those cases and stuff, and it works. It's worked for me all these years that we stock the shelves. I mean, my salespeople's job is to load the boxes up all day until somebody walks through the door. Drop what you're doing. Customer is number one. We'll get back to that busy work later on, but we need the shelves filled with cigars, which means you got to order cigars.
Absolutely.
The retailer needs to have plenty of product in stock. If you want to sell boxes of cigars, you need to put the price on the box, how much the box is. Big thing that doesn't happen in most cigar stores. Mm-hmm. And I've had retailers say to me, I really don't sell boxes of cigars. And I said, I've never been in a store, but I'm guessing that it says what the price is on the box of the single, and it doesn't say what the box is. And I said, do you discount if they buy a box? And he says, yeah, I'd give them 10 or 15% off. I said, you're here with me right now. What's the discount today? And he says, I don't know. And I said, put the price on the box. If you do that, do you think in a year somebody will buy a box? And they say, yes. And I said, how many boxes you have open? And they probably say 700. And I said, if they only bought one box a year, it would be 700 for each one, for every single box that you put the price on. It'd be 700 boxes. That I probably changed your retail life if you would only do it. But I don't know if you're going to do it. But if you do it, that's the answer.
Well, you're right, because if you only have single, to the consumer, it's only allowed to be bought in single.
Yes. Have you ever bought anything that didn't have a price on it except for Padron?
I was going to say.
We went full circle.
And this is why Dave likes to come on. Dave, here in closing, as I know it's late over there by you, but I'm really curious to know, what is a brand or a line that doesn't exist anymore that you were like, I don't know how it doesn't exist?
Well, I told you Chateau Real was one of them. Like, why did they discontinue that brand? And I think they might have brought that back out for online discount as a different product. I don't know. But
I'm talking about a brand, not a line. An actual brand.
Well, that was a brand. That was a brand.
Well, okay, that was a line within Drew Estate.
Oh, you mean a whole company?
I'm talking about a company that's no longer around that you were like, man, that's disappointing.
Wow, a company that went away. Boy, I would have said Tim Ozinger, who used to be with CAO, and now he's back, which I'm so happy.
Yep.
As he went, Cusano. Mike Cusano,
Okay.
Cigars. He was a Boston guy. He was started off as my customer too. And boy, that guy, he was all about value. He was one of the first guys, really high-end product for a value price. That's who he was, who he is. I'm still friends with him to today. But he's one that left the business 15 years or so ago and actually never came back. I would have said that about Tim Ozinger, but he ended up bouncing back, which is great. Most people do.
Now
Most
he's
of
the
them,
president of Ozinger Family Cigars, right?
yes, yes.
Which encompasses who again? It's Ozinger and
Crown Heads.
Crown Heads. That's right. Crown
Yeah,
Heads.
yeah. So good to have him back for sure. Of companies. Listen, Consolidated Cigar was a great company. It turned into Altadas, and at one time that was really Consolidated Cigar meant they distributed for so many different people, like Tiamo, for instance, which was a giant brand back in my early days. It's trying to make a comeback. It hasn't been gone well to my hope that what Tiamo would become. That was the first San Andreas wrapper before, when it used to be called Mexican. I don't know if you know, there was Mexican tobacco, and everybody said Mexican
And
tobacco.
it really, Mexican tobacco was not considered good.
No, bad, cheap prices. And we can thank our friend Steve Soccer on that too, because he changed the name of it, called it San Andreas. And all of a sudden it became chic and popular, and the price went up.
Hey, you put lipstick on a pig. Sometimes that lipstick costs.
It's the same tobacco, but it's messed up.
It is. It's all about branding. It's really, really where it's about. It's about branding and perception and changing the perception of whatever it is you're trying to brand the right way. Well, Dave, this has been an educational show today. I love having you come on because I know I can go back before my time into an encyclopedia of knowledge, bringing us up into here. But one of the things I love about having you is you don't pull punches.
Yeah.
And you are a New Englander in every sense of that word. You wear it loud and proud, and we're all very, very happy and fortunate to have you in this industry and for what you've done for this industry. Thank you very much. Congratulations on your 40th. We're all excited to hear about your name rebranding, unless you want to drop it here on the show. We could do that. But for those of you wanting to know about that special cigar, make sure you catch Cigar Authority this Saturday as the second half of that show. Be on the lookout for that cigar because he's promised it here, and I will be watching and making sure that he holds true to that promise, Dave. That you're gonna light that cigar up. So from the bottom of my heart, brother, thank you for always, always, always being willing to come on the show, spending your night with me. I hope to make it up there. I actually have a client up in the New Hampshire area or close to that I'm going to try to spend some time and try to get it. It's only about a couple hours from your shop. So I'm going to try to drive up there or something like that on a night and come visit you. But
give me notice. Let me know in advance so I can put some time aside and at least have a cigar face to face with you.
Oh, absolutely. I would never just show up and expect you're Dave Garofalo. Come on. That's like expected to show up to Arnold Schwarzenegger's house and him to be home without you calling
please.
So thank you so much, brother, for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for listening and wasting your July 3rd with us. But thank you for doing that. Thanks for having me, Ryan. Thank you.
Absolutely. Visit Two Guys Smoke Shop for any of his exclusives. Watch Cigar Authority this weekend as we got insider knowledge, everybody, for the new launch of a cigar that's going to be smoked in the second half of the show. So absolutely be on the lookout for that. Catch the show this weekend. Catch it as a regular. I do. Dave's one of, I'm just going to say this before I end. There's a couple of shows that I watch where I'm like, I get everything I need. Cigar Authority, Cigar Coop. You're pretty much Dojo. You're pretty this show, Cigar Prop when he was doing it, when he does it, you're pretty much getting everything. So if you between this show, Dojo, Cigar Authority, and Cigar Coop, you've got the entire industry completely covered. So do yourself a favor, add Cigar Authority to your subscription list on YouTube, support them, and always appreciate Dave coming on. So until we see you again, smoke what you like, smoke as much as you can.